so here we go. The moment we've all been waiting for. Everybody except for me. So the story about how my biggest deal turned into not my biggest deal and why somebody's getting their ice sued off their pants. So let me just take you back. I'm gonna pull up some dates for you guys, just so you guys know basically the timeline of all of everything that's been happening so far. And I'm gonna go from A to Z. So I got this under contract on Sunday. I got it on Sunday. And it was in the evening time. It was like 6 o'clock. So I was like, let me just put it on Facebook real quick before I hit up my buyers just to see what people are saying about this deal. So I put it out there. It's been out there for about an hour. And this dude hits my messenger. He's like, hey, asking me all these questions. And I'm not ready to answer them yet because I literally just got under contract. So I'm not ready. He's like, hey, my partner wants to call you and talk to you. So I'm assuming the person I was talking to was the acquisitions person. And this person I was talking to is the person with the money. So like, hey, send me your number. I send him my number in Messenger. Literally, that second, my phone rings from a dude out in California who's a buyer out in California. So he calls me. He's like, hey, man, I'm really interested in this deal. Can you just walk me through it? So I tell him all about it. He goes, look, man, I know you're going to get a lot of interest on it because it's a hot deal, but I'm ready to go under contract right now. So go ahead and send me over the assignment contract. And I'm like, look, I already talked to 2 people in the meantime and scheduled a meeting to meet them at the property about 6 days from then when I drive down there. So I'm like, I'll have some people meeting me there. And he's adamant. He's like, look, send me over the assignment contract. I'll pay you what you want right now. These people aren't for sure, blah, blah, blah. And I had a bad feeling about him because me and him, people that you don't really click with, you don't really jive with. He was one of those. We're on the phone and I just wasn't loving what he was saying. But this is a $20,000 assignment. So I'm up thinking like, man, that's my first big deal, my first big break. Like, let me do it. So I called the guy I'm supposed to meet and I'm like, hey, I have somebody who's ready to sign an assignment right now. They're ready to go right now. So, could you do 25,000 and I'll meet you down there? And he was like, let me talk it over with my wife. I'm like, look, I got this guy waiting. So if you could tell me in the next 5 minutes what you want to do, that'd be great. So the 5 minutes go by, he calls me back. He's like, I'm just, me and my wife are new to this. And we can't just buy something without seeing it yet. And I'm like, look, I totally understand. So I called this guy back and I'm like, hey, this guy said, he's young, he's not ready to go, but I go with you. Just send me over your information and I'll type up an assignment contract. So I type up an assignment contract, send him over the assignment contract for 20 grand. He signs it. I'm thinking, okay, we're good. So I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to you in the morning and we'll figure out what escrow company we want to use because I haven't sent off the documents yet. So he gives me a call the next morning and I'm like, what escrow company do you want to use? Because, I looked up his business. His business has done a lot, but he's never done anything in Tennessee before. So I said this one company that I know, and he was like, I know an attorney who I was referred to. I've never worked with him, but I was referred to him many times, and people say he's good. So he sent me over his email. I sent him both the contracts, and then the attorney calls me and is like, hey, we don't deal with the assignments, and since this property is foreclosing in 6 days, we don't want to deal with it. So I tell this other buyer, his name is Michael. Tell this guy Michael, I'm like, hey, this company we can't go with. He goes, oh, I know another one. So just send it to them. So he gives me the email, I send it to them. And now my communication with title company stopped. Stupid me. So this guy hits me up. I say this guy Michael, the buyer, hits me up. He's like, hey, they're asking a bunch of questions. They don't really deal with assignments. So I'm like, damn. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, this is dead. We need to find somebody who does. He's like, you know, what we can do is, since I read through your contract, you're able to alter the contract. So if you just change your LLC to mine on the contract as a buyer, everything will be cool. Red flag number one, don't ever do that. Don't ever, ever, ever take your name out of paperwork and put somebody else's. Don't do that. And that's exactly what I did. Because, I mean, he was singing a song. He sounded real good on the phone. He's like, look, we can just do this under the table, blah, blah. First of all, don't ever do nothing under the table. Everything should go through these escrow companies. You should be protected through paperwork every time. And I wasn't. So that's why I'm in this position I'm in now. So I literally changed the name on the contract, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. You shouldn't be able to do that. And I'm airing myself out there because I'm letting you guys know my ignorance. I literally did not know. So I just went with whatever he said. He was a lot more seasoned than me. He knew what he said. I thought he knew what he was talking about. So I changed the name. And he's telling me, he's like, yeah, I'll send out a wire today. He's like, I'll wire you today just for doing this for me. So I'm like, shoot, I'm about to make 20 today. Shit, I don't even gotta wait. Smooth. So that was a selling point for me because I didn't have to wait. Stupid me, you always gotta wait. But anyways, so I changed the name. He signs, and that's when the text messages began. That's where the whole process began. So I'm gonna read you guys basically every conversation. April 23rd was when it got signed, delivered, everything. Right? So I'm talking to him, finishing the agreement. He was like, everything's good. The HOA is clear of liens. Let's get this deal closed. He said, let's get this deal closed after I've got a great offer for you, Johnny, which he offered me to work with him. And I don't want to work. He said, we have an executive assistant opening at our company, full salary, fully remote, very good bonuses, everything. I didn't want to work for anybody. I've gotten job offers like this probably 5 times. I have faith in myself. I don't want to work for anybody. Talking about a huge salary, I'd get 6 figures before December of this year, blah, blah, blah. You know, I said, I appreciate it. I'll look into it. Just give me some time. So it wasn't what I wanted to do. Bye-bye, we changed attorney, bye-bye-bye. Bye-bye. He's walking me through how to basically amend the contract to where his LLC would be the buyer, not mine. So he's basically walking me through all that. He says, he was telling me how his company is called Prop Venture LLC. So I was making an amendment saying that Prop Venture replaces JS. And he said, hold on, what did he say? He said, and send me your wiring information. So Prop Venture, he said, Prop Venture replaces JS because you're getting paid today. So he literally said, Prop Venture replaces JS because you're getting paid today. So I'm like, okay, let me replace it and he'll pay me today. So I send him my wiring information. And then he was like, oh, we need the purchase agreement to read this. So he's asking for all these things. So on the 24th, which is that Monday, I was like, how are we looking? He said, all good. I said, perfect. When can I expect to get paid? It'll hit tomorrow. This is on April 24th. It'll hit tomorrow. I said, has it already been submitted? He said, it can't be submitted till the morning. It'll hit 15 minutes after. You'll see. So this is, again, that was at 3:45 on April 24th. So now I'm talking to the seller, letting him know what's going on. We're talking about that. On April 25th, I'm letting him know exactly the information about this guy and when to get in touch with him and how. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so on the April 24th, he said it'll hit tomorrow. So on the 25th, I was expecting a wire. No wire came in on the 25th. On the 26th at 12 o'clock, I hit him up and said, hey, Michael, how's it looking? He just said, can I call you later? Just checking in, you're all good. On May 1st, so 3 days later, hey, Michael, I hope you had a great weekend. I'm checking in on that property in Maryville. I haven't heard from you. You wanted us to close on Friday. Did it get done? About 3 hours later, hey, brother, finally closed just now. Awesome. Glad you guys got it closed and could help the seller. Barely, what a nightmare. Dude, it was a shit show. He loved saying shit show. Everything was a shit show to this guy. So I said, I can only imagine. He was for sure a different kind of seller. When can I expect a wire from you? And that was at, what time was that at? That was at 3:52. Didn't hear from him for the rest of the day. The very next day, hey, did Mick call you? Now, Mick was the acquisition person who I talked to the first. He was my first point of contact, was Mick. Mick was the acquisition guy. So he's like, hey, did Mick call you? No, I have not heard from him. A day after goes by, I sent another text that reads, hey man, can you just let me know what the plan is moving forward? If you're not going to pay me and just walk away with my deal, let me know. I don't want to hound you or chase you around for an amount you said you'd give me. Rookie mistake on my part, not protecting myself, but just let me know what you plan to do so I can simply move forward. Thank you. Right after I sent that message, he calls me. And he's like, hey man, you know, I would never not pay you, this and this and this, blah, blah, blah. Just talking up a storm. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll let it slide, whatever. So then that was on that was on May 3rd. On May 4th, he says, your wire is out. I'd never not pay you, dude. You got the deal. But you couldn't execute. Hell, I barely could with my 9 years experience. Now, when I saw this, but you couldn't execute, I was like, is this guy playing a little bit? Like, what is going on? Because what do you mean I couldn't execute? With any other buyer, it was way smoother than it has with you. So I read that and I was confused. But I just left it alone. I said, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking care of the seller. That was on Thursday, May 4th, right? So I'm expecting a wire on that Friday. So I'm checking my bank account every so often, waiting for that wire to come in. Wire doesn't come in. Wires won't come in on the weekends. So from what I know, the hell they could. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'll check back Monday at 4 because by then I should have that wire in. Check back Monday, no wire. Of course, right? No wire. So I said, hey, Michael, did you send that wire? It hasn't come through. He said, and that was on May 8th. So on May 9th, we haven't sent out anything because we haven't gotten possession, which means more can incur expenses. Which means more can incur expenses. I don't even know what that means, but that has nothing to do with me as a wholesaler. Right? I bring you the deal. The moment you close on the deal, I should be paid. That's how it works. Stupid me, I didn't say that because, you know, hell, I don't know if I was passive aggressive. I was like, shit, it's 20,000. I'm trying not to ruffle feathers. But from here on out, I'm ruffling all the feathers. I don't, you know, I'm saying I've gotten screwed over once. I'm not gonna let it happen again. Anyways, haven't even paid our acquisitions team on it because we don't have a listing on it yet, as sellers still have possession. You'll get wire from company at same time as all of them with confirmation code and everything from your payment, and as we will expense that. I said, let me know when that occurs. Thank you. You will hear from me, blah, 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 blah. So that was on May 9th. So that was over a month ago. Sounds good. So over a month ago, I'm like, man, I don't even feel like dealing with this. So on June 1st, I reach out, I'm like, hey, Michael, give me a call when you can. Thank you. Haven't heard from him since. And right before I made this video, I hit up Mick on Facebook Messenger, and I said something like, hey, Mick, and I'm trying to get in touch with Michael. I still haven't received what you guys say you owe me. So, you know, this would be my last time reaching out before I take legal action. Because I can just, look, I got contracts that are signed. I have this text message chain. I have basically everything. So I'm gonna go to a lawyer and be like, hey, can you work with this? And let's kind of see where it goes. But the number one rule and the number one thing I learned from this whole transaction is file a memorandum once you get a contract with the seller. Period. If you have a contract with a seller, file a memorandum so no other wholesaler, no other seller, so nobody can go behind your back. A memorandum is basically like a lien, right? You're basically putting a lien on somebody's property. So when that property gets ran at title, they see it, right? So if it's under contract with you and you have a memorandum, right? So say I'm buying your house and me and you have a contract and I get the contract, I'm like, smooth. I file a $7 memorandum with the state, and then all of a sudden you try to ghost me, right? You completely ghost me. And Jimmy over here wants to pay you $5,000 more than what you have written in our agreement. You guys sign a contract, they take it to another title company, their title people look it up and they're like, ooh, there's a $10,000 memorandum on this. We can't close on the deal. So you call me up and I'm like, hey, I released my memorandum for $10,000. Smooth. Like, this property is in their LLC. It's called Prop Venture LLC. Prop Venture LLC owns this property that they only got their hands on because of me. You can look it up on you can look it up on PropStream. You can look it up on whatever site you want to look it up on. You can even contact me directly and I'll give you the address of this property. You can literally see the LLC that I'm telling you is the owner. So they already closed. They already have this property. They have it all. But if I would have filed a memorandum, when they went to close, right, when they went to do the title work, they would have saw my memorandum there. And I would have had to get paid to remove that memorandum. So it's funny because a guy who's 21 years old, he lives kind of near me. He was like, me and him got on the phone one time and he was like, hey, one thing that I learned really quickly in wholesaling is that you need to file a memorandum because people will stab you in the back, people go behind you, people steal your deals, people do this. So he told me that the game was hot and I still got burned, even though he told me. So always file a memorandum. File a memorandum. They're like $7, $7 to $10. There's 7 in the state of Tennessee. I don't know how much they are everywhere else, but they're about $10. Best $10 you could ever spend because it'll protect your interest, right? So that was my first, I know that was my second 20K deal that fell apart. I think I already told you about that first one. But that was my second 20K deal that fell apart. But this one fell apart because I put trust in the wrong people. And I put trust in people when I shouldn't have. And I didn't protect myself with any kind of paperwork. I was thinking this guy was a good person, that everything would work out. Obviously, you know, months later, it hasn't worked out. So we're gonna see how it goes. But always optimistic. I have another video I'm about to do after this, walking through this new sub 2 deal that I'm in right now, and I'll tell you all about it. But I hope you enjoyed that story. I was a little long-winded, but you know, that's just how it is. I'll holler at y'all later.